start by saying welcome to everyone who's logged in today for our third Lunch and Learn for Celebrate Afterschool Outdoors in the Garden State. So all month long, we've been celebrating after-school programs and specifically how we as after-school providers can take children outside, encourage kids to go outside, and just talking about the importance of nature and outdoors and how that benefits children's health and well-being. So every Wednesday we have a Lunch and Learn. This is our third with Lisa Pitz from Hungerfree, New Jersey. We're going to be talking about summer meals today. And then every Friday there's a SACC flash with things that you can do with your youth in your programs, or you can send the information home with them. And then next Wednesday, join us for our final session with the Nature Conservancy. So welcome, Lisa. It's very nice to have you here with us. Lisa is from Hungerfree, New Jersey, and I was supposed to read her brief bio, but it is not in front of me, Lisa. So why don't you tell us about yourself and Hungerfree, New Jersey to start?
Sure. Thank you for having me, first of all. And I'm happy to be here. I am the Outreach Director for Hungerfree, New Jersey. We are a statewide anti-hunger advocacy organization, and we work really to change policies and programs so that New Jersey residents have access to healthy food every day. A lot of our work focuses on improving access to the federal nutrition programs, including SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, and then the various child nutrition programs and others, because we believe that those really are the first line of defense against hunger and provide much needed nutrition to residents of our state.
Thank you. So many of us are familiar with after school meals and snacks. We might serve them in our programs. Can you tell us what specifically a summer meal is and what that means for providers?
Sure. So the summer meals program is like after school snacks and suppers is also a federal child nutrition program. The intent of summer meals is really to fill the gaps that exist when kids don't have access to meals that they get in school, breakfast and lunch at school. We know that those school meals for many, many children in our state are the only access they really have, or limited access that they have to nutritious meals. So summer meals is really designed to address that need. There can be sponsors, there can be summer meal sites. Those two entities have different roles in administering the program. There are open sites, meaning that community-based organizations, school districts, municipal park and recreation departments can be open where they can offer meals to any child that needs one. And then also other providers, summer camps that have enrolled programs can be a closed summer meal site where they can provide meals to the kids that are enrolled in their programs.
That sounds great. A lot of our providers are likely sites that work with a sponsor, and or they might be interested in becoming a sponsor themselves. I know there are really some specific differences between being a sponsor agency and being a site. I understand, is it too late to become a sponsor? And if so, when would that process happen for next year?
Right. So yes, the deadline to become a summer meal sponsor was March 25th. It was sometime the end of March. I think it was the 25th. And that's because sponsors really do the heavy lifting in summer meals. They are really responsible for most of the paperwork. They have to go to trainings with the New Jersey Department of Agriculture. They are responsible for procuring the meals. And they also get the federal reimbursement for the meals. Usually sponsors tend to be larger organizations that have the infrastructure that allow them to be sponsors, like school districts, park and recreation departments, the food banks, our summer meal sponsors. Many of the YMCAs around the state are sponsors. Sites really are just responsible for giving the meals to the kids, and keeping an accurate count of how many meals were served that they then report back to the sponsor. And then the sponsor claims for those meals and gets the federal reimbursement. So that counting of the meals is a very important responsibility of a summer meals site.
So I'm hearing you say that to be a sponsor, you really have to have the budget and infrastructure to be able to one, pay for the meals ahead of time, pay for the staff and program ahead of time, and to then be reimbursed by the federal government.
Yeah, for the most
Correct.
part, yeah, that's true. I mean, we would encourage, smaller organizations, faith-based organizations, really to become sites under another sponsorship.
So to become a site, you would need to get in touch with a sponsor. And I know you have ways that people can find out who their local sponsor is, or they can contact you to find a sponsor. But talk a little bit about, if I'm a site, what I need to do, and when, how soon, and until when I can serve a summer meal in my program.
So summer meal sites can come on board all the way up to the end of July. To be a summer meal site, you don't have to provide the meals all summer. So if you're running a program that only operates in July, then you could just, offer summer meals to the children enrolled in your program in July. To connect with a sponsor, you could either go to the New Jersey Department of Agriculture, is the state agency that administers summer meals. They also administer after-school meals and and all the school meal programs. So you could go to their website and they have a list of existing sponsors, and you could go through that and see if you could find one that's in your area. Or you can be in touch with me at Hungerfree, New Jersey, and I can try to connect you to a potential sponsor that's nearest to you.
So in terms of being a site, is there a minimum or maximum of number of youth that you would need to serve? Or does that depend on your sponsor?
It probably depends on the sponsor, but the sponsors have sites that have, 10, 20 kids enrolled at the site. It doesn't have to be a big program serving hundreds of kids. The sponsors do have to get the meals to the sites. So they do have to sort of plan out the route that the trucks will take when they are going around to distribute the meals to the sites. But there are sites that, again, like I said, have maybe a dozen kids in them. We would certainly not discourage smaller sites from at least exploring the possibility of providing summer meals to the children in your programs. And again, each situation is different. And that's why I would really encourage anyone interested in contacting me at Hungerfree, New Jersey, and then we can sort of walk through it together and I can connect you with a potential sponsor.
Great. So a program might have very few children enrolled, but that means that doesn't mean that they can not open their doors to the community and serve more meals. That could be something to consider for programs, that even if you have a closed site, you might want to be a site where people can get access to food as well.
Right. So right now, because of COVID, there are many federal waivers that have been issued, making it much easier to administer summer meals and easier to reach kids given the level of need. So for example, during non-COVID, pre-COVID, and eventually post-COVID, there's a lot of regulations around summer meals. So in order to be an open site, you would have to be either in or near a school or school district that has at least half the kids eligible for free and reduced price school meals. That's called area eligibility. And it is a requirement to be an open summer meal site. That is waived right now. So people can serve summer meals to all kids for free, regardless of whether or not, that program operates in or near a school that has half the kids eligible for free and reduced price meals. The other waiver.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
I wanted to just make a point in there, because typically we might be more used to seeing after school meals or summer meals served in communities of high need, but you had just said federal guidelines have been relaxed, especially due to COVID. Are we seeing more communities in need? What's the data looking like in New Jersey for kids who need food?
Yeah, so, I don't think I have to tell anybody that, this pandemic has, created, a huge economic downturn, and there are a lot of people who have lost jobs or had their hours reduced. Actually, Feeding America put out a study that they did, and they looked at child food insecurity in 2019 pre-pandemic. Then they projected child food insecurity for 2020 related to the pandemic. And then they also projected child food insecurity for 2021. Child food insecurity rate in 2019 was about 9.9% in New Jersey. And the projected child food insecurity rate in New Jersey for this year, 2021, is 15.3%. So you can see that that is a significant increase. There are a lot more kids in need of meals. And that's why we do extensive outreach to try to promote the program and to try to develop more sites. The other thing that makes it easier now for programs to come on as summer meal sites is that usually the program, the kids have to consume the meals on site. They have to eat them in a congregate setting. So, you know, at a camp, at some sort of a program. But because of COVID and not wanting, you know, kids to congregate so much, one of the other federal waivers is that the meals can be served grab and go. So there are a lot of programs that are like what, you know, Boys and Girls Clubs or WISE or other programs that are operating grab and go, where either kids can come and get a meal and take it with them, or in many cases, a parent will come and get a meal or meals for their children, and they can take those meals with them. That's another waiver that parents are allowed without their children being present to come and pick up the meals. All of those waivers are extended through the summer, but we don't know if they'll be extended beyond that point. So it's an opportunity really to provide meals this summer in a really unprecedented way. And it's the way all the school districts have really been doing it. They've been doing school meal distribution, breakfast and lunch, most districts in the state. And, you know, it's a grab and go model. It's open and free to any kid that needs a meal, and the parents can come and get the meals and bring them home on behalf of their kids.
So I thank you. I think that you've probably seen some ways around the state where sites and sponsors have been really creative about getting meals out to people and done different events and things like that. Can you share with us some of the things that you've seen happening to get people more aware of what's available to them?
Sure. So there've been a lot of there's been some creative programming pre-pandemic, but I think that, you know, if there's a few silver linings in this whole situation over the last year, I do think people are talking to each other more and they're partnering, and I think more partnerships are being created on the local level. Pre-COVID, there were some communities that would do a kickoff event, and it would be a big community-wide event, you know, that would let parents know that these meals were available to kids, and they would have different activities for the kids. And it was just a way to sort of, I think, address the stigma and just know that this is really something that's available to the broader community. Some innovative things that we've seen recently around meal distribution is school districts partnering with local food pantries, and the food pantry coming and doing grocery distribution once a week at the school site. So when mom comes to pick up some breakfasts and lunches for her kids, she can also get a bag or two of groceries for the rest of the family. Distribution of fresh produce in conjunction with the school meal and summer meal distribution. Last summer, there were several organizations that partnered with summer meal sites and gave out fresh produce when parents would come to pick up the summer meals for the kids. So a lot of partnerships and a lot of ways for people to be getting the word out there about summer meals and working together to ensure that the kids get fed.
You had mentioned there's a website or an app that people can log into to get access to find their local feeding site. Can you mention that, please?
Sure. So there is a statewide website that I'm not sure, it's probably not updated yet for this summer because they're still getting, they're still processing sponsor applications for summer meals, and sponsors are still onboarding sites, some returning and some new sites. But usually by next month, it'll probably be populated, and it's called Summer Food Rocks. I think I'm right about that. Summer Food Rocks, and it's summerfoodrocks.org. And you can go on there and it's basically a map, and you plug in your zip code, and then the map will populate with all the various summer meal sites that are nearest to where you are. Now, most of the sites on that web page are open summer meal sites, but we do encourage people to call first to ensure that it's actually an open site, because if it's not, we don't want to be sending people to a site where it's only for the kids that are enrolled in that program. But that does list hundreds and hundreds of summer meal sites throughout the state. And we do a big push at Hungerfree, New Jersey, and we'll certainly get the information out to NJSACC and your members, really promoting that statewide site. And then we do a lot of work to promote some of the local sites as well, in conjunction with local stakeholders, whether that's the school district, the public library, the Park and Recreation Department, if there's Y's or Boys and Girls Clubs, faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, to really push that out and let parents know where they can go and get meals for their kids this summer.
It sounds like if I could be a after school or summer program provider who may not be serving meals, but also could still encourage our participants to access the meals in the community, and
absolutely
partner with some of the agencies that you've mentioned to, if their program ends before lunch, the kids could possibly go to the library for their summer meal, and then go home. So you've seen things like that happen as well, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it is true. What you said is very true. I mean, everyone can play a role, whether or not a provider wants to become an actual site. They can certainly help by promoting the summer meal program to the families that they're serving, and to the community at large. We will have some social media graphics that our communications director is currently working on, again, that we can push out, and if people can use those to post on your agency's Facebook page, Twitter, and any way that you can communicate with your parents, via text, email, phone calls. We will have flyers. So again, it's really, we could have wonderful summer meal sites, but if parents don't know where they can go to get those meals, then we're going to have low participation. So the promotion piece of this is hugely important, and it really is something that everybody can help with, that aspect of summer meals.
I really like that idea for our NJSACC providers, because you might have providers who run after school programs but don't do summer programs, so they could play a real key role in communicating with families about where there's access to meal, and also kind of remove some of the stigma. If everybody's talking about getting a summer meal, then it's just normal, right? Like there's no specific to a location or what community I live in. It's everywhere for everyone, especially at this time where the need has been shown to be very high.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit specific to Hungerfree New Jersey's projects and the communities that you're working in? We might have some participants who are from those communities and would like to hear about them.
Sure. So Hungerfree New Jersey does advocacy on the federal, state, and local level, again, really to improve access to the federal nutrition programs. We work with the various state departments that administer the federal nutrition programs, the New Jersey Department of Human Services, New Jersey Department of Agriculture. And then we do a lot of local level, like community-based work, really drilling down and engaging with some of the local stakeholders who I mentioned before, and really working with them to get the word out about these programs and helping people to connect with these resources, whether it's summer meals or SNAP or WIC, all of these programs that provide nutrition assistance to our families. So we do a lot of that work. We convene a bunch of different local and some county-based coalitions that really focus on food access in that particular county or in that particular city or town. We have our outreach person who focuses on the southern part of the state. He really does a lot of work in the more rural communities of our state, which have their own challenges in being able to access resources. And so, people can get involved in our advocacy. You can visit our website and kind of see what we're up to, and, you know, engage in some of our advocacy work. And then on the local level, you know, we're always trying to get local folks around the table in a lot of the communities that we're working in. Now, there's only 2 of us doing outreach. Hungerfree New Jersey there's four staff people total. Our director, our communications director, and then myself and our outreach specialist for the southern part of the state. So we do target certain communities based on data that we get from the state, where we can see high levels of need. And then we really try to drill down and work in those local communities to kind of get what the current landscape is, who's doing what and where, identifying any gaps in services, and then having conversations with local folks about potential partnerships that could address those gaps, and improve access to food for people that live in that community. So that's kind of the scope of our work, really, is that sort of broad-based federal and state advocacy, and then the real localized community-based work.
So not only are you, I mean, I've heard you say this a couple of times, and I think to repeat it for NJSACC, is not only summer meals, but there's after school meals too. And all of this falls under your umbrella of increasing access. And I think as a provider, you know, when I was running a small after school program at a tiny organization with 12 kids, that was a struggle getting snack every day. And it was a budgetary issue. And, you know, here's a resource that could really help our programs. And I know there's programs that are still out there who are going to Costco to get their snacks and drinks and things when they could access this program, especially now that it's available for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the flexibilities really allow for much greater access this summer. And as the numbers point out, the need is greater. So that's a really, really good thing. And yeah, and I would put a plug in 100% for the after school snacks and supper program. I mean, not only can you serve snacks, you can also serve dinners to the kids enrolled in your after school programs. That is really also a very underutilized program. There are after school snack and dinner sponsors. The food banks are sponsors, and there are other sponsors as well that we can connect you with, so that when you've got kids coming to your program, and I know in some cases the kids are with you till 6 and 7 o'clock, you know, in the evening, you could provide those kids with, you know, with a healthy dinner as well as a snack. So yeah, I would definitely put a plug in for those programs as well. Those are other, you know, those programs we also focus on and try to improve access to after school meals as well.
Right. And I think that it's important for people who serve after school meals who don't have summer programs to connect to those places that are local that do serve summer meals. So there's a continuous availability of food for kids throughout the year. So
absolutely. Absolutely. As we say, hunger doesn't take a summer vacation. If anything, it intensifies in the summer. And we know from, you know, we work with, you know, networks of food pantries across the state as well. You know, those are some of the stakeholders that we work with. And, you know, they say that the demand for food from the pantries goes way up in the summer because the kids are home and, you know, they don't have access to the meals in school. So summer meals is a critical nutrition program for our kids.
And a child doesn't have to be enrolled full-time in a summer program either, from what I hear you saying, that they simply can go somewhere local in their community to pick up or have their parent pick up, right?
Yes, because of the waivers that are in place for this summer, as long as it's an open summer meal site, you know, the children or their parents can go and pick up the meals. A lot of the school districts will be operating open summer meal sites. There was a law that was passed in 2018, which really mandates the school districts that have 50% or more free and reduced, you know, kids who are eligible for free and reduced price school meals, that they have to either be a summer meal sponsor and or a site. And those districts will have open sites available. So I would encourage, really, that's another way to find a site. If you're operating a program in a community, connect with the school district in your community and find out what their summer meal schedule is going to be. I mean, some of the districts are feeding all summer long. They're offering breakfast and lunch. Some districts are offering that daily. Other districts are doing like a once a week distribution where a parent can come and get a week's worth of food for their kids and take it home. So different districts are using different distribution models, but a lot of the school districts in New Jersey will really be a primary source of summer meals. So I would encourage, all of you to find out what your school district is doing and then help them by promoting their program.
Great. We've reached 30 minutes in our discussion, Lisa, and we don't have any questions in the chat room. Oh, we do have a question. So I just want to encourage everybody to ask questions. So Jessica, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, I have two questions. First is there anything specific that sites would need, like equipment or anything like that, if they want to be a summer site? And now my second question was in my head and I kept saying it so I wouldn't forget it, but so let's start with that.
Okay.
I just remembered it. I remembered it.
Okay.
If a site is like a smaller site, is it possible for them, instead of having the sponsor deliver the meal to them, is there a way for them to pick it up from the sponsor in order to, ease that burden of, you only have X amount of kids, it's tough for us to just make that stop off? Could they take that burden on themselves and go and pick up the meals?
I think it depends on the sponsor. So I don't have a super specific answer to that question, but I think it depends on the sponsor. But that's something that we could, if you're interested, we can connect with a sponsor and have that conversation. And then to answer your first question, you have to have, the requirements on the, for the sites is that the food has to be stored, at a certain temperature. Obviously, you have to take food safety into consideration. If you are distributing food, you would have to have some sort of like food handling training. And that is, my understanding is that's really usually provided by your whoever your sponsor would be. And my understanding is that it's not like any big deal. But yeah, I mean, because it's a federal program, that, you have to ensure that you have proper storage of the food and refrigeration and so on and so forth. And you could work with your sponsor on what all the criteria would be.
All right, great. And is there a difference between, and I guess maybe this depends on what the distribution model is for the sponsors, but is there a difference in what a summer meal would look like versus a regular after school meal or a supper or something like that?
It depends on the sponsor. Some sponsors use vendors, they get vended meals, and they're giving out, sort of prepackaged sandwiches and different things like that. Other sponsors provide hot meals. Some sponsors provide frozen reheatable meals. There is, during the school year, and I'm sure that this will be true in the case for some sponsors this summer, there's a bulk distribution. So instead of, say, 5 prepackaged sandwiches, they might give out like a loaf of bread and some cans of tuna fish and some peanut butter and jelly, and it looks more like a bulk meal, because again, trying to minimize the time that people have to be exposed to other people. And, while that is all changing and shifting, at this point, but I think there are still a lot of precautions. I think people are still erring on the side of caution, and there's precautions in place. And so there may be open summer meal sites that are doing some sort of, some of the school districts might be doing that, continuing that bulk distribution. So parents only have to come once or twice a week. So it looks different depending on the sponsor. But yeah, the meals are pretty similar to, what you would see in a school meal, only probably more cold items just because of the nature of the program, and summer meal sites may not have the ability to, store a lot of frozen meals. I mean, it's a capacity thing too. It's really what the site's capacity is, to serve hot meals versus cold meals, and so on and so forth. And in some sites, it's a combination of meals. They might have cold meals 3 days a week, and then hot meals 2 days a week, with reheatable pizza on Fridays. It just really all depends on where the sponsor is getting the food from. Some sponsors make their own food. They actually prepare the food. But many sponsors do use a vendor, and the vended meals, do tend to be prepackaged meals.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions. Great questions.
Great questions. Thank you, Jessica. So hearing that, we don't have any other questions. Lisa, I'm going to put a question on you. If I am just logging in for a clip or see a clip on summer meals and summer programs, what are the top 3 things you would tell a summer provider in order to access summer meals?
The 3 things I would say, if you have children enrolled in a program and you're operating a program, I would encourage you to explore becoming a summer meal site to provide meals to those children. I would encourage everyone to connect also with the school district that you're operating in, and find out what their summer meal distribution is going to look like, and then educate your parents about that, of the children in your program. And then I would also say, the third thing I would say is to help promote the program statewide as well, by posting on your agency's social media site and getting flyers out and really pushing it out through your networks. I mean, we all have our jobs, right? But then we're all connected to other networks too, in other parts of our life. And I think there's lots of opportunities to push out information on summer meals and promote the program, so that families all over the state will know where they can go for meals this summer.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
feel like there is no, the need is high, but it seems like the lack of food access is lower, and we really need to connect, those 2 parts and bridge those 2 parts, and your agency is there to help us out with that. So everyone, please, I encourage you to check out Hungerfree New Jersey. Reach out to Lisa. Her role is outreach and making sure that you're connected to the places that have food available to you. Hungerfree New Jersey has been a long partner of NJSACC, and so we really thank you, Lisa, for your partnership and helping us help providers get food into children's bellies where it's needed. And we know that we need it to help them be successful and help everyone have a great day. It's really important. So thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you for having me. I put my email and our website in the chat box. I please encourage everybody, please like us on Facebook. If you go to our website, you can actually sign up to get our e-newsletter, which just comes out periodically and gives you all updates on the nutrition programs and what's happening in the world of advocacy and how you can get involved. So thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I just want to
great. Thank you.
Yes, just want to remind everybody that this was a part of our 4 Wednesday Lunch and Learn series for Celebrate Afterschool Outdoors in the Garden State. So we'll put some follow-up information in our SACC flash that will come out on Friday with details that Lisa has shared, maybe some of those links to where you can access about sponsors or becoming a sponsor. And I just want to thank everybody for joining in. And again, like Hungerfree New Jersey on all the social media networks, and share, and join us again next Wednesday when we have Tanisha Malcolm from the Nature Conservancy talking about the importance of connecting children in urban areas to nature. So thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your lunch, and see you back next Wednesday.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.